Western Conference Podcast, your boy BigBodyCisco. And I love that intro because shout out to my brother Raw Smooth because I have another producer, artist extraordinaire in the building. My brother Etu's here. How you doing, brother?
What's up with it?
But I always say Etu, the artist formerly known as Eddy Dyno.
Come on, bro. we going straight into it? Okay, let's do it.
But it's good to have you here, man.
Man, long time coming. It's about time.
Come on. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But we got to talk about the name change because me and my other shows on Twitch through Instagram always referred to you as Eddy Dyno.
Right.
Tell me where that came from and where the transition of Etu came from. Man,
I'm gonna try to keep the story short, but
no, this is a podcast. You got to keep the story long.
Okay. Eddy Dyno was kind of an alias that was created out of my my insecurity in myself as an artist, as an islander, and coming up in a world. And like I started making music like, bro, 2011, 2012, in a world where it was so mainstream and commercial, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like if I came out as a Eduardo Final, like nobody's gonna look at my name and be like, I want to listen to that music. So,
and that's always the case because when you're looking for the moniker, when you're looking for the stage name, it's like, what am I gonna do my real name?
Right.
Do I have a nickname that people call me? So Eddy Dyno was just something that was a part of what you were trying to do as what you were trying to at that point.
Yeah, bro. And like, you know, I was watching the movie about Richie Valenzuela, you know, and he said, oh, he used Richie Valens.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
he
saying?
shortened it up.
So I was like, man, let me pick a name that has the same type of syllables, Eddy Dyno.
Yeah.
Like,
come on.
It had, you know, there's a little bit of something else behind that, but like it had just this flair that I was like, I can hide behind that.
Yeah.
That can be my alias, and that can be when I'm outside of my house, when I'm the artist, I can be Eddy Dyno, and people know Eddy Dyno, and that personality is larger than life. But you know, when I'm home, I could just be Edu.
Yeah. But Eddy Dyno kind of took his name, it kind of made its own name for itself. When you had that, did you kind of have an idea that Eddy Dyno was going to also have its own little following? Like, how did that even come? You're like, hold on, wait a minute. Everyone's starting to know Eddy Dyno pretty good.
Bro, like, I didn't even want to be an artist. Like, I started writing songs early on and producing music just for fun. And then, like, I started getting to a point where I was like, man, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it stemmed out of, like, playing with my brothers and my family, One Blood, One Sound. You know what I mean? That was our first family band. With all my sisters and my cousins and stuff. But when I started writing music, I was like, man, I want to reach out to these different artists, and this would sound good for them or for them, and no responses at all. So,
but at this point, you were behind the scenes guy. You didn't want to be.
I hadn't even been Eddy Dyno yet, right? So,
well, take us back to that. You were talking about the family. How did it get started in your home? Bro, in East Palo Alto, out there in EPA. How did it all go down?
This goes back to Tonga, bro.
Yeah,
like,
okay, take us there. Take us back.
The moment I was like big enough to hold an instrument, like, you know, all of my siblings, we were put in the worship team, you know what I mean, in church. And, you know, you said it before on a different episode, it all starts in church.
Absolutely. Especially in Polynesian families. Tongan families, Samoan families, Fijian families, it goes by the church. Like we were talking to Rich and Tone the other time, that was the dancing for them. And then it was, you know, singing for Fiji and for J Boog and everybody. Now you're in this Tongan household where you guys get into church. You got to sing these godly songs.
Yeah, my father was a pastor, you know what I mean? So it was the easiest thing, I guess, to have the kids play in the worship team. And he always pulled for excellence. So that's where kind of like my drive in music came from.
Was it pressure, though, growing up? Was it pressure to say, okay, I'm the pastor's son, so I got to leave a show and prove if I got to do this song that Pops wants us to do, or do I want to go out on my own limb, which in a Polynesian household is unheard of.
Yeah.
But how did that kind of stem from your background of being the pastor's son?
So, like, I have no doubt, like, my pops passed in 2005.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt if he was still alive, I'd probably still be in the islands.
Yeah.
Leading worship with my brothers and stuff. But when we came to the islands, we kind of fell off from music that way. Yeah. And tried to find our own identity here in the islands, here in America, as a musician or just as islanders, period.
Yeah.
The culture shock was crazy. You know
was it a big transition through the culture shock from the islands to, so you're going from Tonga to EPA?
Yeah, bro, and I mean, like...
and if that ain't a culture shock for that ass.
It's just sleeping on concrete.
Yes.
Going from that to, like, sleeping, you know, finally having a bed, and I'm like, you know, I loved my life growing up in Tonga, you know what I mean? I have no complaints about it. It made me grateful for a lot of things, but, you know, just having that, and then growing up in the hood.
Yeah.
when I'm like, nah, this is an upgrade from where I was, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, y'all got so much stuff that I couldn't even have dreamt of.
Because people always talk about, you know, when you move from the islands to the hood, oh, it's an upgrade or a downgrade, whatever it may be.
Right.
But coming from the islands, some people, like this story's a lot normalized in the Polynesian households because there are some that come from the islands to the hood. But when they go to the hood, they're like, oh, this is the hood? Oh, you guys should have seen what I was sleeping on in Tonga.
I know. I thought I was in Beverly Hills, you know what I'm saying? It was glamorous, but... Yeah, everything has just been like the growth from there has just only been getting better and better and better. But
so you already had the musical background in Tonga. When you came out to EPA, was the music still there and the availability to it?
Yeah, that leads to the One Blood One Sound thing, right? So my brothers, they got involved with my uncle and my aunt. They were doing like just outreach for youth and keeping kids off the streets because it was like 2008, 2009, and East Palo Alto was still bad.
Yeah.
So,
that was the murder capital of the world at that point.
And it was still bad, It was on the tail end, but we had a place every Tuesday night where kids could come from all around, and people were coming from Sacramento.
That's
you know
dope.
What I'm saying?
That's dope.
People were coming from all over the place to East Palo Alto, 300-400 poly kids.
Yeah.
This is before social media was crazy. This is a place where now we take it for granted. Like, there's a band playing, like, oh, it's whatever. I can go see whoever I want to. But back in those days, they're like, oh, man, there's live entertainment, what I mean? And we can go and hang out for free. And it's a place where it's neutral ground and we can be safe and be away. So that's where our band kind of came up, and we were just like, oh, we want to play music for the people, for the, people our age, and we had fun with that.
At that time, what kind of music were you guys playing? Was it the church music that you guys were playing?
Nah, it was sometimes, we'd mix it in. It was outreach for sure. So, like... preaching peace, preaching, coming to Jesus, and like all of it was just kind of stemmed around like, yo, this is a safe space for you. You know what I mean? And that was all rooted obviously in the gospel, but we would play Lucky Dube.
Yeah.
We ended up getting into places where we started playing like pop music and stuff. I would be like, yo, can we play some Maroon 5? They'd be like, Maroon 5.
I'm glad you said that because I do want to get into your musical, background and some of your musical inspirations. Because coming from the island of Tonga, what were you listening to as a kid? And when you transitioned over to EPA?
Bro, growing up in Tonga, I was, my pops was a pastor. So the first secular song I heard, it was like, I remember it. I was walking around in school. There was a radio out. I think it was Mr. Pongio's radio in the Tonga High School. Yeah. And it was, give me the big force, free my soul.
Woo, come on.
And I heard that song and I was like, because we weren't allowed to listen to secular music. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that was like the first worldly song that I heard. And I was like, yo, there's something so crazy about this beat and the harmonies and the song concept and all of that. That just made me just open up my mind. You know what I'm saying? So going from that, I wanted to first listen to rock music and, alternative music. And then I came out here and then you mix that in with growing up in EPA. We got, Bay Area rap, you know what I'm saying? All those influences kind of mashed together. And that created my sonic identity early on.
And when you say sonic identity, that makes a lot of sense now to what people knew as Eddy Dyno, what people knew. Because when I first came across you, you were doing things unheard of. And I've been in music for a long, long time. And hearing different artists and just hearing you. And I always told people, this kid's different. And I meant it was different in a way, in a good way, because I meant he had more to him than just Bay Area rap. He had more to him than just R&B. There was something where you get from that pop, from that rock, that people, because I like to say that my musical endeavors go all over the place. But when you hear somebody in that, and you hear it in your music, that you were taking little riffs from here and there. You were taking, that people wouldn't know about. And that's why I was like, oh, he is the poly Ryan Leslie, because at the time, Ryan Leslie was doing everything.
Everything.
Ryan Leslie he was ordering a trumpet, he was putting all these different sounds. And when I had heard your sound, I said, dude, there's something different about this kid that you guys got to pay attention to.
I want to give you your flowers right now and say thank you for that, because first of all, before anybody else was really, let me not cuss, before anybody else was really messing with me like that, you know what I mean? You were already calling me a musical genius before I had embraced the greatness that I have in me. Yeah. And it was I needed that encouragement.
And I think at that time you needed that. Yeah. And I think because seeing you, because social media, as we talk today, we'll get more into the social media, but that realm of me seeing these kids kind of just do their music thing. You see the rappers, you see the singers, but when I seen you, there was a process to it. There was a process where you were real critical on yourself. If something didn't sound right, when you went to, Instagram Live and you kind of did these live producer sections, I would sit there and kind of sit back and kind of watch how you did your thing and kind of say, you know what? he didn't like that, but you're hard on yourself in the good way. In a good way where it's not you're so much a perfectionist. It was like you knew what sound you wanted. How did that come from being in a house full where you just had church music, being an EPA, being the Bay Area hip hop scene? How do you take away from that and start to get into your own identity?
Man, first of all, like I said, my pops was a pastor, but before that, he instilled in me and my siblings excellence. You know what I mean? Everything that we did had to be to a certain standard. And it wasn't because it was unrealistic. He just knew the potential that we had in us, and he encouraged us every day to like strive for better.
Because he's seen it.
Yeah, he's seen it. And
if you were going to hold his name, that was going to be it.
Straight up, bro. And like my entire family is musicians. Like all my cousins out there in New Zealand, Australia, they all play music, or they're scholars, or they're athletes, you know what I mean? And it's just whatever that we do, like we do it with excellence in mind. And for me, if I'm going to do music, I'm not going to try and do it like half.
Yeah, you ain't gonna half-ass it. You're gonna put all y'all into it. Because you have the name to it too.
Yeah.
And you coming from the dad's background, when you guys were doing the church community functions, when was the time coming to say, okay, because it's hard to break away from that, especially with your brothers and sisters. But there has to be an opportunity to say, okay, maybe let me just go do this by myself. Where did that come about?
Man, my brother moved down to LA for college, and I went down there for college too. When I was like 17 years old, and that would have been the first time that I was away from home, as in like moved away. It was East Palo Alto was always home base. You know what I mean? But when I moved down to LA, I started to really separate myself from the, like they say, if you stay in the hood, you know what I mean? Life is just gonna turn into a cycle. You know what I mean? But when I left, it really opened my eyes to different things that I could do and my potential as far as like, bro, because in LA. It's a different world.
Come on, man.
Everybody's a producer. Everybody's an actor.
Everybody's a star.
Everybody's a star. Everybody's a star in their own world. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm like watching all that, and I'm like, oh, nah. What I think is excellence, like to everybody else, is just the standard. Yeah. So I have to like push beyond that. Yeah. And my brothers would get frustrated because like they'll be like, man, this song is fire. I'm like, no, it's missing something.
Your bar was a lot higher. Yeah.
It was a lot higher, and I had to separate myself from the world of like being comfortable doing family functions and all that. Yeah. Because I'm in LA, and now I'm starting to meet other people and network and start to like get out and do things. And I'm like, okay, the live performance has to be better. Yeah. The music has to be better. When I walk around, I have to carry the gravity of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And there was a weight to it that I just felt like I had to live up to. And so that's really what pulled me apart from it. I don't know if that's answering your question.
No, absolutely. Right way, absolutely. Because mind you, you're coming from Tonga to EPA. Now you're in LA. You're talking about three different beasts where you come in, because what people don't understand, coming from the Bay to LA, that's a whole transition in its own right.
Crazy.
Because you're looking at the Bay has their own culture, LA has their own culture, because and it's night and day, bro. Like I've seen LA artists, I've seen Bay Area artists, and there's a different flavor to it. So you're going from one transition from the islands over to EPA in the Bay Area. Now you're in LA. Now you're kind of like taking from all this, seasoning, what you're taking from the islands in the Bay Area. Now you're kind of seeing what people are doing. They're kind of getting their performances up. They're getting you thinking, and this is where it kind of comes into your home fold, where you kind of come into artists, because you're still just producing at this point, right?
Yeah.
What things are you doing at that point that people would know you from?
Bro, like right before I went to LA, man, I was starting to record some stuff in my room and post it up to SoundCloud. You know what I mean? It was my cousin who was pushing me to post it up, and I was like, man, I don't want to post none of this. I just make it for fun. He was like, bro, just post it up. And I think he was actually the one who posted it up for me on my SoundCloud, because I wasn't trying to press upload, and it went crazy. I made a 5-track and the Egyptians Hold You. Yeah. And it went crazy in Australia and New Zealand, and I was like, oh shoot, I'm getting numbers. You know what I'm saying? And people were commenting like, yo, like, where's your original music? Where's your other stuff? Like, I want to hear more stuff. So I started making covers, started posting that up. And like, because I told you originally, I didn't even want to be an artist, you know what I'm saying? But nobody was trying to sing my songs or listen to anything that I had. So I was like, all right, well, if nobody's going to do it, I'm going to do it for myself. Exactly. So that's when I started making original music.
But at that point, SoundCloud coming into the fold, did that come in the Bay Area or that came in LA?
Oh, bro, that was in the Bay Area first, and then came to LA.
So because I always tell artists, social media can be the right tool if you use it the right way. SoundCloud, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok nowadays. Absolutely. But when you're on SoundCloud, those are the places where people go that they're not on mainstream radio. Those are the places that people go, well, let me hear some music from an artist that has no kind of buzz. Like when you started getting a buzz on there, then you moved to LA.
Yeah, bro. And I went down to LA, and like The craziest part is starting to hear my songs being played out of cars in LA. You know what I mean? Like go down to the swap meet or like roll around any like spots that are heavily populated with Islanders.
That's crazy.
And just hearing people playing my songs, and I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
Like, is that really me or am I tripping? Like, the songs didn't, nah, that's you, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like seeing a vision of a future where like that's normal. And I'm like, see, the islands gave me gratitude.
Yeah.
The Bay Area gave me the hustler in me.
Come on.
And LA made the star. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
what I'm talking about.
I started to see everything, and I'm like,
yes.
And people are like, all right, manifestation is whatever. Like, nah, bro, I was 18, 19 years old in LA envisioning this life for myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think Islanders are taught to be humble.
Yeah.
And are taught to make themselves smaller in a way. But I think
in a box,
a lot of my mentors have just taught me to embrace my greatness and to like, and not see it as something that that can, you know, not trying to stroke my own ego.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But also just stepping into my calling. I guess that's what I mean by that.
Because once you come around your passion like that, and once you see the fruits of your labor, hearing it in the car, hearing it at poly functions, that right there has to be the aha moment to say, okay, I can make a living doing this. Was that the moment in time where you said, okay, let me start taking this a little bit more serious?
Man, before I even thought about making a living from it, like when I would hear people playing my music, I thought to myself, oh, there's somebody that relates to what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because the music at that time has always been therapy for me.
Yeah.
And I put what I'm feeling and everything that I'm going through into the music, whether it's a cover, you know, all those song selections are made based on how I'm feeling, what I'm listening to.
At the time.
Hearing other people listening to it, I'm like, man, maybe that person relates.
Yeah.
Maybe that person is feeling the same type of thing. So to me, I'm like, I can touch the world in a whole different way than I thought I could.
Yeah.
And I thought the music was just for me, you know, and something that Feej was like talking to me about a really long time ago in the studio. He was just like, man, the music is partly for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But most of the time, the music that you're making, especially when he was, bro, all right, sidetrack. We were in Reno.
Yeah.
And doing on the Polytape tour. Shout out to Drew Deasy. Shout out to the 454 camp. All of them. I love them to death for what they did for me in my career. We're out there, and I'm like, man, I can't perform tonight. My voice is gone.
Yeah.
And Feej just looked at me dead in the eyes, and he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I can't perform tonight. My voice is gone. He was like, bro, there's one or two people out there that came out here just for you. And those one or two people, if they go out there and you did not perform for them, regardless of how horrible you did, you let them down.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And regardless of how you sound, go out there and perform for those one or two people, because that's who we do it for.
Yeah. Did he pull out the throat coat out of his backpack at that point too? Because he normally does that. When you lose your voice, he pulls out that spray in his backpack, and then you're going to have to perform.
I think he just wanted to put me through the rookie ring. Yeah. And he was just like, just go do your thing. You can learn. You know what I mean?
But take us to that. Take us to meeting Feej for the first time and how that impacted you as an artist. Because I keep telling people Feej is like the pinnacle of poly music for when it comes to artists like that.
Man, Feej is the godfather of island music for me, you know, in my personal opinion. Like, so many people have come through the doors of the island industry with Feej. He's walked them through, you know what I mean? And he has made it available for them to be able to make a living.
Yeah, and that's rare, bro.
And like, you know, Feej isn't the only one that built up the island industry, but he played a huge part.
Intricate part.
In artists being able to make a living, you know, and people don't give him his flowers and understand the impact that he had. So for me, meeting Feej for the first time was an alley-oop from Big Seth from 454.
Shout out Big Seth,
Love
man.
you, big bro. Like he just said, hey, come through to the studio. I didn't know who was going to be at the studio. My first day in the studio is Finn and Fiji, and they're like making a song. They were working on the Polytape too. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, I'm literally sitting in here with two people that I've been listening to like nonstop for the last few years. And like, they both look over and they're like, who is this kid that's just sitting in here? And I have a song that I put on SoundCloud, back to SoundCloud, with Finn called Put It On Me. And that song is just...
Oh, that was a classic right there, too.
Bro, see, that's the thing. It's crazy. I've never put it on any other platform but SoundCloud and YouTube. And people are like, man, when are you going to drop that? And for me, you know, shout out to Oos Nation. They produced that one.
Yeah. That Put It On Me. That's a classic on Big Body Radio, by the way.
That was the very first, from the very first sessions that I met Finn and Fiji.
Yeah.
They were both in there for that. And I was just in the studio and everybody had kind of gone to sleep.
Yeah.
And it was like 4 or 5 a.m. and I was like creating. And then the morning came around, everybody came back in. And I'm sitting out there, and I wake up, and Finn is like, oh, I'm gonna put this on it, and Fee is like, oh yeah, what about this and this, and I'm like sitting here like,
it's coming together.
First of all, I'm baffled that.
Oh yeah, you're flabbergasted. Yeah, what's going on here?
Why? Wait, you know what I mean? Y'all gonna be on my song? You know what I mean? So that whole experience for me was just a lesson in how to carry myself, because they took this kid who they knew nothing about. You know what I mean? Maybe they heard something, maybe they didn't, but they just said, you know what? You want to do this, and you're here, and you're showing up. I'm going to show you love, and I'm going to teach you the ropes. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm like, I'm going to do the same thing. Just pay that forward with everybody that I meet.
It's crazy you said that, because during the Polytape recording of that classic album, Feej and Finn, we were already talking, because I had to doing Big Body Radio at the time. They hit me and was like, dude, Big Seth got this cousin from EPA, and this boy's bad. I'm just coming straight from Fiji, and I'm like, for real? I was like, dude, I gotta hear it. So I don't know how I got it, but Put It On Me was in my email.
Shoot.
And I had played Put It On Me on Big Body Radio. And at that time, that was kind of like the only way people, besides SoundCloud and besides YouTube, that was kind of the only way people were getting familiarized with the poly artists. So when I had played that, it was instant hit. Jeez. Like everyone was like, dude, that's the thing. So that's why it kind of want people to hear more from you. Like, oh, who's this kid Eddy Dyno? Like your buzz started at that point. But it started during the Polytape, and these big artists were coming in with Big Seth. These big artists were coming in with Drew Deasy. Bro. Fiji put the stamp on you. Finn was like, hey, I just did this song with this kid. Put It On Me came on my, and that's when I felt that it was like the Eddy Dyno moment.
After that song had come out on SoundCloud and it was doing numbers, that's when I started getting hit back by people who never responded. And, you know, and it was kind of like and I'm never gonna throw shade at anybody.
Absolutely.
None of that. But like,
it happens that way, bro.
But it happens that way, you know. and people started reaching out. They're like, yo, like you wrote your verses. Like I peeped the game in that pen, and I'm like, oh, I appreciate that. They're like, can you write something for me? And I'm like,
you got 3 of them in your email from a couple months ago that I sent you.
A couple years ago, bro. You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm starting to get in studio sessions with people who I'm like, yo, like I pay to come and see you perform.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I'm sitting with people, and like, even like just randomly, I'm sitting in the studio with Spawn Breezy, you know what I'm saying? And like, and I'm working on this song that has nothing to do with like anything that he's put out before. And he's just like, oh, I want to be on that. And I'm like, that my song? He's like, yeah, bro, like that sounds dope. Let me get on that. And I'm like, I'm just getting put into these places, you know, and like manifest destiny, or, you know,
God's
divine
sure.
appointment, you know what I mean? However you call it, like, things are just lining up in a way where I'm meeting people at the right time, and I'm like, yo, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life.
Because I remember we went on Polytape tour, and I was the host for it, and it was you, Drew, Finn, and everybody that was around that time in Utah, all the places, Alaska.
It was so fun.
And it was crazy because I still at that time was telling people, this guy has barely scratched the surface. And I remember I always joke around with Fiji, and I was like, dude, Eddie's the truth. You know, and I said, is that his real name? You know what I mean? And I kept asking people, I was like, dude, whatever it was, because you kept sending me music and I was playing it. Whatever you sent me, whatever you had on YouTube, SoundCloud, I would play it. And I don't care if I was the first or second one, I was like, bro, I'm gonna play this, because I would listen to it, and I was a fan, instant fan, because we kind of had the similar vibe to it. And I was like, dude, his music has a vibe to it that people like, you know, it was cool off the Polytape, but what you were sending me were things that were different. And when you say like Spawn Breezy wanted to jump, I think they've seen the same thing in you as well, where they say, oh shit, let me get on that too as well. But when you have people like Finn, Feej, everybody that's sitting there, and now that you are in this position, now it's kind of okay, we did the Polytape thing, we did the Polytape tour. What was next for you at that point?
Bro, like there was a moment after all of that where I had just like internally had fallen off from wanting to make any type of music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the only reason why I really was still pushing with the music was all the people around me were just kind of seeing the momentum building. And they were like saying, this is how it should go. And this is, you know, and every part of me was like, I don't want to let them down. You know what I mean? And going back to that, what you were talking about in the music, that might be different. For me, there's an advantage that Islanders have. And I like to call it a superpower that separates us from everybody else. And I think it's just because of culture, because of our people, because of how we're built. We're such a tribal people.
Yeah. Prideful.
Yeah. And I think our superpower is empathy, bro.
Yeah.
Like we're able to take every emotion that we're feeling, regardless of if we're
gift
singing.
and a curse, though.
Yeah.
Gift and a curse are the same turn.
Absolutely.
Because when you think into that aspect of it, When you said that you just didn't want to do music anymore, what was there a point in your life that you said, maybe you was questioning doing music?
It wasn't necessarily questioning doing music. It's because where I draw from with music is my life energy. You know what I mean? So I had been spent, and I'm like, man, I honestly, like, I didn't want to live. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I got into a place where I was just like, none of this makes sense to me. None of this matters to me. You know what I mean? So why am I going to make music just because people are over here like, man, you're starting to get big. Yeah. Your name is starting to get recognition. Well,
like, the pressure's bigger at that point. Now that you have this notoriety, now these people are starting to notice who you are, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think people go through that don't want to show it. Like we talk about our Polynesian people, we're prideful people. We don't want to show the weakness that we go through. We don't want to show the dark times that we go through. And I'm glad you brought that up, because this kid that's going through it right now, watching this podcast, is going through the same thing you're going through and seeing your story. And that's why I bring you guys in to tell you guys' story, because nobody would have known that. Good friend JP from The Green, he talked about his dark times. And I think these times have to be talked about, because without those times, there is no shine. Right. And because the shine's coming because you were in those times. So when you were coming out of that, what brought you out of that?
I think it's just the perpetual state of like really learning myself, to be honest. Like, because if we talk about mental health all the time and making people aware of it, I think people are aware about it. You know what I mean? People are aware of mental health, but we're just not being equipped with the tools necessarily to tackle them. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And to go after these different issues that we deal with. And mine is anxiety and depression, and like, I can't control when it comes.
It's taboo in Polynesian culture as well, too, to talk about it freely. When people are, I go through a depression, I go through a dark time, and it's like not frowned upon, but we act like it's frowned upon. If we show that,
man,
you know what
like, I mean? If we want to talk about it, like, the thing is, people, the reason why it's so taboo is because most people equate having depression and anxiety with weakness.
Absolutely. You know Come on, say that again.
And they try to say like, yo, you got to buck up, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Man up.
Yeah, I've been depressed for 40 years. And I'm like, that's not a good thing, bro. Like, exactly. That's nothing to be proud of. I've been depressed for 40 years and I'm still fighting through it. I'm like, man, address some of those issues. A lot of the problems that happen in the island community stem from unprocessed trauma. You know what I mean? Unaddressed issues with their mental health. And I'm just like, man, me and my family, we have grown so much just from learning more about ourselves internally and using that to communicate better and effectively with each other.
Say the communication again, because I don't think nowadays the communication is there as openly as it could be and it should be. Right. And I think it's the older parts of the family that say, oh no, he's just weak. You know what I mean? And that you're coming into where you can have open discussion at homes now. You can have these discussions with uncles and fathers, and maybe that wasn't approving of those at first. But now we're in a different world where, you have podcasts that you can watch. You have, literature that you can read. You have little messages. Like I always say, I put my morning message up every morning on my Instagram. Right. It's not to show anybody, oh, you can do this. It's what I need. Come on. It's something that I need to get me through my day. I'm not doing it, because I want to get likes. I want to get this. I do it every morning because that's going to set the tone of my day.
Come on.
We didn't have that back in the day.
Nope.
Now that we have the open, free range of doing that, now every day I don't miss a morning message. And it's crazy how many Polynesians are in my DM say, dude, you don't know how much that meant to me. And I'm like, dude, and it's nothing that I did to get that reaction. I did that because I did that for myself.
See, and here's the thing. Like before, you know what I mean, years ago, had you been still doing that, the words on there would have been like, look at this dude.
Exactly. Look at this sucker. Oh, I've got those. I've got those. Look at this soft dude. I've seen the DMs. I've seen, dude, what you going through? You trying to kill yourself?
Come on, bro.
Like, and the more you buy into that apparatus of it, it's like kind of like, no, I'm not doing it for y'all either. Yeah. I'm doing it because when somebody comes up to me at a show, it's like, bro, you'd be surprised. You stopped me from killing myself. And I'm talking about young poly dudes, like they look like hard gangsters too, and they pull me to the side. They're like, hey, let me talk to you real quick. And I'm thinking they want to fight, because that's our first. I'm like, what's up? Hey, you pulled me through a dark place. And I'm like, it's crazy, bro. You think me and you could take a picture? I'm like, bro, it's crazy how we've grown in that aspect where these small-minded people that are still out there today look at these instances and can't relate because the bravado of them is so like huge.
Come on.
That's why you bringing that up now. That's why I bring people like you guys on the stage. Bro. Not to talk about the accolades, to talk about what it took to get to the place where you guys are at now. But speaking on that, we got to fast forward into what your music. Now you're coming back. Was that Eddy Dyno at the time when you were in a dark place? I say, okay, let me kind of get rid of that and go back into my own. Or how did that come about?
So like it was a long season with that, right?
Yeah.
Funny I say season, but it was a long season of just trying to like just being lost in who I was, like, and I went with emotions, and I just went along with like putting out songs, and you know what I mean. I even put out a whole project, and I even went on tour with J Boog.
Yeah.
All these crazy things that I'm like, all of this should be fulfilling my life energy,
and it wasn't.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed every single one, but like I would leave from there more depleted than I did. You know what I mean? Then I felt life, and I was like, what is going on? And I'm like, it's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not Eddy Dyno. This is this alias that I had created for myself to be larger than life.
To hide behind.
Yeah,
without hide behind.
And who I am is, and Eddy Dyno was fake humble.
Yeah.
Fake humble.
Yes.
You know,
he was for the lights humble.
Come on, bro. and I was moving in an energy and in a way that was just like, yo, like, I'm great. You know what I'm saying?
Because you can get lost in that.
Yeah, I'm great, but I don't have to put it out there.
Exactly.
Like that. And I would look back on those days, and I'm like, man, who did I think I was trying to play? Like, who did I think I was fooling, bro?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the only person I was fooling was myself.
Absolutely.
And I had, it got to the point where I had a #1 hit in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Shout out to Big Koa.
Yeah, shout out Big Koa, man. That's family.
That man was spinning my record like crazy, and all the entire island caught on. You know what I mean? Fiji did the alley-oop on that one and just went crazy. Yeah. And like I got nominated for, you know what I mean, Collaboration of the Year for iHeartRadio
I remember that.
Awards.
Yep.
And right when I got nominated, all of it just came and crashed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was some legal stuff that happened with other things that I can't talk about, but all of that had crashed, and I was like, man, I'm getting nominated for an award for this place that I told myself 2 years ago, or when it started, that I would be at.
Yeah.
But I don't want anything to do with it.
Come on.
And I couldn't bring it in myself to ask Koa to take my name down.
Off of, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like how do you go about doing that?
To say that, you know what I mean? I don't come on, man. Like, that is a privilege. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I fell off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I said, I was disgusted with myself every time I would just see my name, and I'd be like, yo, that is not who I am. And
trust me, because I was looking for you. Because trust me, I was looking for you. Because I was like, where the hell happened? Because I remember talking to CLC. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what happened to Eddie? Where's Eddie at? He was like, I don't know. Nobody's really heard from him.
Yeah.
And this is after you guys did the book tour. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, okay. And me and myself said, maybe he's dealing with something. Mm-hmm. And I kind of said, let me just leave it alone. But I always played it on the show.
You reached out.
I said, you know what? Whatever you got going on, let me know, because what you got going on. And then Etu came about.
Bro, the moment you know what it was? The pandemic.
Yeah.
The pandemic happened, and I was forced to sit with myself.
Yeah.
I was forced to sit with myself in a way that I was just like, yo, who are you? What are you doing? And there were some dark nights during the pandemic, because you're just by yourself, or if you're with people, you're stuck with them.
You had no choice at that point,
and I wasn't in the, shout out to Utah. Y'all was like down for like 3 weeks, and then y'all got right back up.
Hey, it was the reflection period for everybody.
But in Cali, we was down for like months. What I mean? And I was like, man, I am not Eddy Dyno. That is not who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a kid from the islands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my name is Etwate. And you know what I mean? If that's the name that's good enough for my parents gave me that name, it's good enough for me.
Yeah. You got back to the roots.
Yeah, bro. And I'm like, and I started really digging through the false humility.
Yeah.
And I started digging through like this air of like everybody seeing me as Eddy Dyno and be like, man, you next up. And I fed into that. And I was like, yeah, I am next up. But to them, I would be like, nah, man, that's good. Like, no, that's not who I am. I am great.
Yeah.
There is power in me. There is so much, I'm a star. You know what I mean? But I can't walk in the shoes of having false humility. I have to carry that in how I walk.
Because there's a way to do it. There's a way to present that. Yeah. Without being cocky, without being conceited. Because in this world, we live in the social media world, you got to be real careful on how you carry that out.
Yeah.
Because that whole thing is that there's a way to do it, but there's a way not to do it as well. And you can get lost real easily in this social media world. So you had to tiptoe around it.
Bro, and for me, I'm like, it's not about being greater than anybody else. It's being greater than myself.
Yourself, yes.
And there's this thing in me that's been sitting with me for a while now. And I'm going to be starting up just my clothing brand and all that. Yeah. But it's Evie in Tongan.
Okay.
It's energy, it's strength, finding the strength within yourself, but it's spelled out 1v1.
Okay.
You know, and the entire thought process behind that is just like, yo, my greatest battle is against myself.
Yes.
And when I walk around saying I'm the GOAT, I'm not saying that to belittle anybody else. I'm not saying that to say
to
that
myself.
I'm like, this is what I'm like, just like what you need the morning message for.
Yes.
Every morning, this is what I need.
Absolutely.
You know, to move the way that I move. You know what I mean? And like, I stepped into this new season of like, Ethu is my name. I'm gonna go by Ethu, and that's gonna be my artist name, and people are gonna be forced to say that.
But how'd that come about? Like coming out of the pandemic,
right?
It kind of just be like, okay, we're putting Eddy Dyno to sleep, and we're bringing Ethu to the forefront.
Yeah.
But you still have those that are still Eddy Dyno fans that are still not buying into the Ethu yet, because they haven't really, they got used to that. Because I always mess around. I play this up. Artist formerly known as Eddy Dyno, just like how Prince did that.
Hell yeah.
But then you didn't want to kind of just kill it off as something that wasn't part of your growth. Eddy Dyno's still part of the story.
Absolutely.
Now this next chapter is the Ethu chapter.
Absolutely.
And that's why when I had seen that and I seen you getting into the creative process, sending me a song, and I was like, Ethu, what's this? We really didn't get a chance to sit down and talk about with the transition.
Yeah.
But I kind of said, okay, he must not want this Eddy Dyno moniker anymore. This is the next step.
I am not ashamed of anything that, of who I was before, because, without your past, you know what I mean? Moving on to the future, you know what I mean? If you don't acknowledge your past, you're bound to repeat it. You know what I'm saying? And all of that, all the music, everything that I created, all the relationships that I made are so beautiful to me, because it's a chapter in my life.
Yeah.
But it's a new season.
It's part of the story. It's Ethu season. Come on.
Ethu season, baby. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, man, like, what is this, like, why are you so adamant about like pushing everything about Ethu season? And I'm like, I feel life in my artistry for the first time.
Yeah.
Like the entire time I was Eddy Dyno, I was going through the motions and doing what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
For the first time, I have pride in my work.
Yeah.
I have pride in who I am as an artist and as a musician, as an
You had
island
some substance
kid.
behind it.
Yeah, so it was just, it's been crazy, bro.
And what's been crazy about that, the birth of Ethu is here. The divine timing and the divine intervention, call it what you want to. We get into this Twitch thing.
Come on, bro.
T-Pain has this contest of, just kind of like, seeing what new artists are out there, new producers. I kind of came onto this a little bit later into the whole session.
Right.
And I was like, they said, Ethu's doing this thing with T-Pain. And you had hit me a few times, so I went on and watched it. And it's crazy because he had some artists that, I'm talking about top artists from across the world, join his Twitch, submit a song, and they would critique it. They would go through it. And T-Pain, he's been through the ringer. He knows what he's talking about.
Come on, bro.
When I had seen him go and talk about you and everyone from around the world, because Twitch is a worldwide platform. When he was just talking about, dude, he said exactly what I said. T-Pain, you took it from me, brother. Because he said, this dude's different. He said, there's something there's something you guys ain't hearing that I'm hearing. I remember T-Pain saying that like it was clear as day. He said, I'm hearing something. He goes, oh, did you hear that? And then nobody in the room heard it. But it was like something that you dropped in the beat or something, or a riff that you had did. He was like, oh, you guys didn't hear that. Because that was to a trained ear. And that right there had to be, come on, the timing for Ethu on that, tell us how that whole thing even came about.
Bro, like, I was on Instagram, I think I was, and I was on Twitter.
Yeah.
And somebody had tweeted out that they submitted a song to this competition.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me tap into this competition and see what's going on here. And I'm like, oh, we're going to sign somebody to Nappy Boy Entertainment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for real?
Yeah.
All I got to do is submit a song?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And for me, I'm just like not thinking anything of it. I didn't even know if I was going to get chosen. I just had jokingly.
Well, that year you got a backpack of songs too. You got a backpack of songs ready. So you was like, which one? Take your pick.
Man, here's the thing for me, right? Like, I can say it now. Like, I'm about to be signed, like, officially to Nappy Boy Entertainment. You know what I mean?
Come on.
Spoiler alert, I won the competition.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
We here, Nappy Boy, baby. Nappy Boy, Island Boy collaboration.
I was going to open with that when we came up. I was like, nah, let's get into the story because it's going to mean that much more.
But walking into that, I had no plans whatsoever of just
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I'm just like, man, if all I got to do is submit a song, like, what hurts? You know what I mean? I had tweeted, I had put on the Twitch, I was like, just give me a chance, you won't regret it.
Yeah.
Right? And somebody took a screenshot of that and tagged me in it today. They were like, hey, remember this? You know what I mean? They're like, definitely didn't regret it. And I'm just like, oh, shoot, this is crazy. The timing of all that is crazy because, like, that's when I'm full force, like really diving into. I just had released my first project, Spring Break. You know what I mean? Streamed it all on platforms.
Come on, get that. That's that heat,
bro. And I'm just like, you know what? I got some new stuff that I'm working on. Let me just go ahead and submit one of those songs
that you had already have done before this was even known to be a competition. You had this EP already ready to release,
man,
and you were just kind of sending them songs from that EP.
No,
what? It was from another one.
This song "Obsession" that I submitted was not like I just
that
finished
Obsession
making that
song, boy.
I just submitted that. I just finished making that song, and it was a demo that I sent in, and I was like, man, I don't know. They gonna listen to it and see if they like it or not. And he listened to it, and I almost didn't make it. Like, he listened to it. He was like, okay, there's something there. You know, it might be missing a few things here and there, but there's something there.
Yeah.
And he put it through. And from there, I was just like, oh, shoot. I kept getting chosen for the next round, for the next round, up until the 16 rounds.
Yeah.
And finally, I was like, oh, shoot, I'm actually in this thing. You know what I mean? So
you in the Sweet 16, baby.
Every single round, I made a new song.
Yeah.
Every single round, I was like...
Did that motivate you at that point to say, okay, let me show them what I can do?
Bro, I said, this is an opportunity of a lifetime.
Come on.
And T-Pain, to me, I don't care what anybody says, he's one of the GOATs. For
me.
You know
come on. I mean?
Talk about consistency, talking about falling off and
talking
coming
about
back
catalog, too.
Talk about catalog, bro. At one point, everybody needed a T-Pain feature.
There was a T-Pain era. Where you couldn't go on the radio, you couldn't look at music videos without a T-Pain song there.
Drake had an era, Lil Wayne had an era, T-Pain had an era. You see that company right there?
But then you also see how quick everyone turned on T-Pain.
Come on, bro.
When the killing of the auto-tune came out. And it's crazy. It shows you how this industry and shows you how this society is because they put him up against the cross at that point. Jay-Z said kill auto-tune. Kanye West said kill auto-tune. All of a sudden, T-Pain was the bad guy. That's why when he came back, it was like, oh, y'all thought it was just auto-tune? Watch this. And started singing out of his thing. Come on, man.
Killed him, bro.
Did the Tiny Desk concert. I was like, come on, man.
Bro.
I was a fan of T-Pain then, and I'm a fan of T-Pain now. But when you kind of tie you into this whole thing, I'm like, wait a minute. Etu can be a Nappy Boy artist?
Here's the thing, right? There's a comment that T-Pain made that that really pushed me to want to be on Nappy Boy.
Yeah.
And it was the first round of the 16, right? And there's a dude on there, man, I'm forgetting his name. I'm so sorry, bro.
Yeah.
He had a song called Wu-Tang and Wakanda.
Yeah.
And when he showed his video to introduce himself, dude was a bigger guy. He looked a little older. He had some glasses on, and you know, there was a look about him that just like, oh, does he even make music?
Yeah, exactly.
And people were commenting that in the Twitch, and Payne was like, look, age and none of that matters when you listen to the talent.
Come on.
And that's when I knew. I was like, I'm fighting for this spot. If there's somebody out there who can see that, because I'm a person who struggles with my image.
Yeah.
Like, not on a way where I'm like insecure about it, on a way where I'm like, nah, sometimes I wake up and I don't even want to look myself in the mirror.
It's almost like the Masked Singer.
Yeah.
Like you have to hear the talent instead of seeing the visuals.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of like the show Masked Singer, because you see the voice and then you kind of make your perceptions of everything after they take the mask off, where it's kind of like that, like you having struggling with that, the image part of it, because in this day and age, image is everything. Whether you got to have a six pack, where you got to have jewels and all this stuff going on, where you're just kind of like, look, I just want to make music. Where it's like, oh no, you don't have the look. Where you would have an A&R back in the day say, oh, you don't got the total package. Now, when you have shows like T-Pain did, when you have that where it's like, hey, listen to the music, listen to the producing of this, that kind of just opened everybody's eyes and say, it's Etu season, baby.
Like you mentioned earlier when you said that he would hear little things.
Yeah.
Like me as a producer, when I would put in little nuggets, and I would sneak them in there and see if they can sneak past them.
Knowing.
And I would see his face, and like I'd see his small little slight, because he didn't give away.
Yeah.
Like my dude was like super pressed about not wanting to give away too much of his reaction. But like when you see his face kind of twitch a little, or his eyebrows raise, I was like, he noticed. Let's go.
And you notice him noticing it. Yeah.
You know, game recognized game, and that's one of the top in the game, and I'm trying to emulate that. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, it was a crazy time.
Come on, man. But you had the support of people that were Eddy Dyno fans.
Bro.
Now transitioning to Etu, saying, look, we want you to win this thing. I actually went in there and was like, hey, it's Etu season, you know, in the comments, because that's what they were looking for. But like I said, you being a Nappy Boy artist now, how does that change for you in your creative process, or does it even change?
I just want to say, before any of that, just how much I appreciate the Island community.
Yeah.
Because they show up They show
I was just telling Travis about this community, man.
Come on, bro.
If they're gonna follow you, they're gonna follow you tooth and nail. They may talk shit, but they gonna still follow you.
Be your worst critics and your biggest supporters. You know
Absolutely, in a nutshell.
And for me, I'm just like, man, they showed up tough. And the entire time I was going through the competition, I was like, you know, there was some heavy hitters in there.
Yeah.
Shout out to Blue, shout out to Nando STL, you know what I'm saying? Like killers, you know what I'm saying? And they have support, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, the island industry showed up and we won the competition by 0.8% of the vote.
It was a close one.
0.8% of the vote.
And T-Pain had mentioned that. But T-Pain also mentioned that it was the support. The support of the island community, the support, because in everyone backing whoever they was backing at that point, you always want to root for your own. You know what I mean? Whether you like them or not. Like, you know what, that's part of he's island. We're gonna go root for him. And I think T-Pain did that, and it being so close shows you that in so many different demographics, you had the Latinos, the blacks, the whites, and the islands all pulling for their dude.
Come on.
You know what I mean? And just to kind of squeak it out by 0.8, kind of just said, okay, here's the opportunity. What you gonna do with it?
That's back to your question. What does this change for me? I have made it adamantly clear how much I want the island industry to be a part of whatever I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Payne and his team has just been, we've been going back and forth, and it's just like, whatever, man. Like, your artistry is you, and Nappy Boy's gonna stand behind you. And for me, I'm like, man, this is what I've always wanted. Yeah. I've always wanted to be in a position where I can help whoever I need to in the island industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like, bro, like, we have so much untapped potential. Yeah. And like, you know, people look into our media, people look into who we are as writers, as artists, and they're like, man, there's something so different about them. And I'm like, you think I'm dope? Wait till you hear the 50 people I got for you next. You know what I mean? The people behind me. You're like, I'm not the only one. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm the only actor, but you know, I'm not the only one that's out here really doing it.
Because they put you in that position to help others. I'm not gonna say everybody. If someone else that didn't have this upbringing that you had, that had this, you know, inclination with Eddy Dyno and this whole, you know, the whole story, they might have took it and ran with it and not looked back the way you look back at it. And that's why it's a blessing also for you to have this position, because that's what your end game is for that. It's to help other artists. And I don't think a lot of people see that. They want to just see, oh, Ethu's on Nappy Boy. There's more to it than that. There's more to it than that. And that's why I'm glad you came in to tell your story, because I already know T-Pain was already talking about Samoans in his songs before he even came. He was talking about Polynesians in general. So he knew what we came with. But I'm saying, what can you do on this Nappy Boy project that you're working on now that's going to have everybody like, man?
Here's the thing. Like, people are looking for me to go full mainstream. And I'm like, yeah, like that could be cool. Or I could bring the mainstream to the island.
Tell them.
Come on, bro. Like, here's my thing. Like, yo, I'm gonna just speak it and manifest it into existence now. I want to hear Kehlani on an island reggae track. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear Akon on something. You know what I mean? Like, this is stuff where I'm just like, I'm dreaming of a world where the access that is now given and the support that is now given, they kind of collide with the world that I've already been in. You know, and I could look at the last 10 years and say I didn't do as much as I wanted to. Or I can look at the last 10 years and say this was preparation for this point in my life.
For what you're about to do.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, and all of it has just been part of this tapestry that's been woven out. And, you know, I have just been written out for my life. And I'm like, you know what? The next step in my life is just to be grateful for my position and leverage it for our people. You know what I mean? And leverage it for, man, like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, the impact that Feej had starting out from his first album up to now. Like, he has built the all right, not just him, like, not taking credit from anybody else who contributed. Obviously, that is unspoken. But for me, he's one of my mentors, you know what I mean? So I have to say it. He helped lay the foundation for that. It's up to us now to start building the rest of this house. And a lot of people are too stuck building up their rooms and making it look nice and pretty while the rest of the house is so empty.
They're taking the bricks that are there that should be built a certain way, and they're building their own little phone booth to kind of just worry about themselves. Like, and that's to each his own. Everyone's going to have the way they was brought up and the way how their upbringing was. But like you said, it goes back to the Born and Raised albums. It goes back to the Hear Me Roars. It goes back to all these albums that we, you know, as Polynesian kids kind of like go for. That's why in the beginning when Big Body Radio came about, everyone was like, oh, it's a poly station. I never coined it as a poly station. Even this podcast today, I don't coin it as a poly podcast.
It's not.
I let them do it. I let them do it. Yeah, I may be Samoan, you may be Tongan, but I let them do that part of it. I'm just doing what I know how to do. and bringing you artists on here to tell your story. Come on, it doesn't have to be, oh, that's just the Polynesian podcast. No, these are stories that need to be told.
This is the thing, right? We like to pigeonhole ourselves into these like small little
niche
sections.
markets.
Yeah, markets where we feel like this is all that we have.
Yeah.
And my idea behind it is like, no, you want me to go mainstream, I want to expand the island industry.
Yes.
We have island R&B artists.
Yeah.
My boy Timo, who's outside, he's an island country
Shout
artist.
out Timo. Country artist?
Island country.
Island country. Come on, Timo.
Island R&B, Langiola son, my other artist, bro. Like these EMG is coming out with like, and the thing is, we're taking this and we're proud of it.
Yeah.
People are so like, no, you're an island reggae artist. You know what I mean? You're not a real reggae artist.
Come on.
I'm like,
say it again, Eddy. Come on.
Be proud
For those,
of that.
especially those island reggae artists that are in the game right now, that feeds into that exact thing that you just said. You got to be an island reggae artist. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. You got to be an artist that happens to be an islander. You know what I mean?
Like, for me, I'm just like, bro, like what we do with music is so different. It's so great. The harmonies that we put into it, the feeling that we put into it.
It's already built in.
It makes us, it's us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, I'm like, man, I'm going to be an island pop artist. I'm gonna be all of it is just like, it's part of who I am and it's engraved. You know what I mean? It's part of my tapestry.
And it's crazy because we talk about this, Justin Bieber having Let's Do It Again, one of his favorite songs. Fiji writing for Tyrese. There's little hidden gems in there that people don't know that, I just had Rich and Tony here with Michael Jackson. We're talking about the epitome of Michael Jackson, Madonna. Legendary. That people don't know. That's why I love what we do here. Is because they're gonna know somehow, some way. You're gonna see how this takes into place. You being on Nappy Wood Records, you having your vision already that I'm already seeing, and you telling me right now is definitely you're already 10 steps ahead of the game, bro. Because people would have took this opportunity that, I've been in the game for a long, they would have dropped the ball. They would have fumbled it and they would have turned off T-Pain to a fact like, I don't really want to mess with dude like that. But you opened it up to him like, oh, you're really an artist. Your upbringing and what you done told me, you really want to do some things.
Here's the thing, man, like, and with this entire opportunity, like my goal is to not squander it, but my goal is also to realize the greatness that's there is not in what it can do for me.
Absolutely. Come on, man.
If I am able to set up our next Justin Bieber.
Yes.
Our next superstar, Ariana Grande.
And they out there.
And the thing is, that's the crazy part. They're out there.
Yep.
And they're being told right now not to pursue this career because there's nothing for them in it.
Come on, man.
If my niece wants to be an artist, she's going to have every single weapon at her disposal to be able to
But if she wants to be a pop artist, there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
And that's what we have to kind of, especially with our kids coming up now, we can't keep beating them over the head where, oh, you're an islander, you have to be an island reggae artist, something like that. We have to give them the tools to be that mainstream artist, to be what they want to be. Let me take that back. Be what they want to be, not what they expect it to be.
Come on.
So that's why I said, I'm glad you came in and told us that story because I was a fan of Eddy Dyno. I'm a fan of Etu, and I've been pulling for you. And when I say Ryan Leslie, I say that in the highest regard.
Oh, I've been watching Ryan Leslie for years. I appreciate that. That's the highest.
And Ryan Leslie, now he's doing business stuff. Now he's like, I'm cool. I'm done with the music. But everyone has that chapter. His chapter now is to do entrepreneurship. You know what I mean?
Bro.
Now your chapter is Etu season. Come on.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. Music is a segue for me.
Yeah.
And like people are like, don't tell anybody your plans. You know what I'm saying? People are gonna hate on it. People are gonna whatever. I'm like, nah. My dream is to build the island film industry.
Yeah.
We have a music industry where, you can walk into it and make a living.
Yeah,
make an honest living as an artist, as a musician. But
there's more to it.
We have islanders who are actors who are we have people who are so talented.
Yeah.
And I don't like to say that they're struggling, but people in the industry are just like being pigeonholed into roles where like, oh, you're just gonna play this.
They're struggling to be noticed.
Yeah.
Not struggling as far as like how you would take it, but they're struggling to be noticed.
Exactly.
There's so much talent in our demographic, in our Polynesian, background that it has to be out there. It's just all about opportunities.
For me, like I've always wanted to be a director.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to make movies, make shows about the island experience in America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's next.
And for me, like people, if we don't tell our story, somebody else is going to tell it for us. Right?
And we don't want that.
And I want to build a world where in the industry where we have actors who maybe they don't go straight to Hollywood. Yeah. Maybe they come through us, and we're able to put them in a place.
Come on.
Put them with agencies. Put them in a place where they have like reels. They have
and do it the right way.
Opportunities to act. You know, that's the crazy part.
Come
opportunities are so far in between for actors. You know what I mean? And for me, who wants to tell stories about us, this is the perfect opportunity for me to be able to find people who want to do this, put them in position to succeed, and then like somebody else can. I'm not trying to hold anybody to myself. I'm just like, I want to have a platform where I can create, and if that helps other people, hell yeah.
Come on, man.
Hell yeah.
You could tell you a pastor's son because you want to help the people. When you're not a pastor's son, you're like, fuck everybody. I'm going to do it for myself.
Man, bro, like, it frustrates me because I'm like, you only gain, you know what? Money, right?
Yeah.
I did a post about this. Every time I try to save money, like just pinch every single penny, I don't make any money. The moment I start just being like, all right, somebody needs money, give freely. You know what I mean? Spend on this, like, you know,
and it comes back.
And not being like stupid with it, obviously, but like, you know, when people like are in need or you see a need somewhere, like just being able to be open with it, like the blessings come back, and I just take that with everything that I have. I'm like, you know what? Whatever I receive, bro, I'm gonna give it back, and it's gonna come back tenfold. And I believe that's gospel right there. You know?
Come on, we gotta live by that. But before we get up out of here, Etu, that kid right now that's in a dark place watching this podcast, what you got to say to him?
Breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breathe and just realize it's one day at a time, man. Like at the beginning of every song that I've put out as Etu, I take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm just examining my life, examining where I am. I'm grateful for it. But I also understand that sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not trying to machismo through it, not trying to say, oh shoot, it's just, you know what I mean, I'm whatever. Like embrace the hardness of it. Embrace that and know, you know what, it's not always gonna be.
Yeah.
What's the saying? Tough times never last.
Come on,
tough
man.
Tough people last.
Come on, tough guys last long. Look at one of my morning messages, you'll find it on there.
Come on, bro. That's exactly what
When can they expect the Nappy Boy project? Or are you just taking your time with this?
Here's the thing, man. Like, we're finalizing the deal right now. We're going back and forth. You know what? I just want to just give the biggest shout out to Nappy Boy because the first iteration of the contract that they sent me, there's a lot of things that I could have expected from it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, all right, it might be like this, it might be like that. It's a first contract, you know what I mean?
First draft.
Yo, they have been so gracious with like everything that has been on there, written in there. I'm like, man, like there's not much I even need to change on this, you know what I mean? So once that gets done and is finalized, we're about to go full on Nappy Boy Etu season.
Come on,
Nappy
man.
Boy Island Boy. And I just want to say, coming up soon, October 14th, my first tour starts.
Come on, the first tour?
My first ever tour as a headliner, baby.
Come on, man. Etu season is upon us.
The Island Summer Tour, baby. Come out, see me, CRSB, and Mo Music in a city near you, baby.
Come on. You heard it here first on the Western Conference podcast. Etu season is here. So you guys better be prepared for that. I want to thank you, my brother. Give you your flowers whenever I can. Because I'm telling you, man, you're a vessel. You're a vessel to help this next generation come up, brother.
Thank you for creating a platform for us.
Yeah.
But not just creating a platform, creating it with excellence.
Come on.
Every time you do something, bro, you always raise the standard on yourself, whether it's on Twitch. And every time I go on Twitch, you have like this new look that I'm just like, bro.
Oh, man, got to keep them going.
Exactly, bro. And like, it's just for me, like, I'm also on this point of like, everything I do, I need to do with excellence. And you see the studio, you see the way it's set up, man. You got producers in here. Like, it's just like, we can do this, yo.
Come on, man.
We can do this, man.
It's our time, brother.
Come on, baby.
Etu, I appreciate you.
Thank you for having
EPA's
me.
very own, Tonga's very own, BigBodyCisco, Etu's here, Western Conference Podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.